The iPhone 3GS hit store shelves on Friday, and it's already sold 1 million units. But beyond that fast-growing sales growth, there's another thing that's fast about the iPhone 3GS, and that's its web browsing performance. Anandtech, the website for all things chips and testing, went through and tested the iPhone 3GS against the Apple iPhone 3G, the Palm Pre, as well as the T-Mobile G1, which runs Android. We bring in Anand from Anandtech to talk about all these speed tests. Thanks for joining us, Anand.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
So this obviously, people are excited about the 3GS. Apple's been touting that, the 3GS, the S stands for speed. I guess these test results are pretty conclusive, right? The iPhone 3GS is a lot faster in web browsing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of interesting. When Apple first launched the iPhone, it was kind of it used an ARM 11 based processor, which was kind of nearing the end of its useful life at the high end. And this was, back a couple years ago when they first introduced the iPhone. And everyone kind of expected a speed bump with the 3G, and Apple kind of instead went and tried to optimize for cost with that thing, and they kept the same hardware. So a bump in CPU performance has kind of been long overdue, especially for a high-end smartphone. And they went from ARM 11 to what everyone believes to be a ARM Cortex A8, which is a significant performance improvement.
Yeah. So in layman's terms, these are these are just two different processors. So the iPhone 3GS's real benefit here is the processor change, and not anything else. Like as far as you understand, relating to the other core components.
Yeah, the big changes. So these phones use what are called systems on a chip, and basically it's a bunch of different parts or a bunch of different processors on a single piece of silicon. So when they switch chips, they actually switch both the regular processor and the graphics processor.
Got it.
So I think we're actually going to see some pretty interesting performance gains in games as well.
So
there are very few that currently really take advantage of it, but I think you'll see 3GS enabled games kind of be able to either run faster and smoother or do more with what's going on the screen.
So we had Josh Topolsky on Thursday to talk about his experience with iPhone 3GS. He saw legitimate gains in gaming and things like that. Now, obviously, the Palm Pre is kind of the apple of the smartphone adopter's eye, if you'll pardon the pun. People kind of think of the Palm Pre as the real competitor to the iPhone 3GS. Now, in this test, you saw it was a little bit slower. 21%. The iPhone 3GS is 21% faster than the Palm Pre. Do you think that Palm is going to be able to respond? I mean, just based on the way that their chip architecture works and things like that, do you think that they're going to be able to have the next version speed up a lot more, like Apple could have?
So technically, the 3GS and the Palm Pre are actually very, very similar in terms of their CPU and their graphics hardware. I think, honestly, the only real difference here between Palm and Apple is just software optimization. The iPhone's been out. We're on its third major OS revision now, and we're on the first OS revision of WebOS with the Palm Pre. So I think there's a lot of performance left on the table. There are rumors that Palm's running its CPU about 100 megahertz slower than what Apple is on the 3GS. I haven't confirmed that yet, but even if that's the case, I think there's a lot of potential for Palm to improve performance with its existing hardware in the OS.
So out of these phones, if you had to pick one, I mean, just based on performance, are you still picking the iPhone 3GS, or do you think that performance with the Palm Pre will come faster, and maybe the gap isn't big enough where the speed performance isn't necessarily a reason for picking one of these smartphones?
I don't think speed alone is the right decision-making factor. You kind of have to look at it two different ways, right? If you're looking at individual application performance, right now the 3GS is faster. But on the Palm Pre, you can multitask, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at total time it takes to complete 4 or 5 different tasks, you might actually be more efficient on the Pre. I think the division really boils down to, 1, if you want a hardware keyboard or not, 2, if you really need to have multitasking support. And 3, on the Apple side, how important some of the apps in the App Store are.
Yeah. So for you, speed isn't really playing a role in any of this stuff. It's more just like an added benefit.
Well, I think it's necessary, right? Like, if we stayed at the original iPhone level of performance and simply added more features, we would be in the same situation that we were with Windows mobile phones before the iPhone came out, right? These things both have to improve at the same rate. We have to get new features and new performance to kind of make those features as quick as possible. I kind of look at this as the early days of kind of the PC hardware race.
Yeah.
We're still unable to do the coolest things that we want to do on these phones, so we need a lot more advancements in the software side and much faster hardware to kind of support it.
So, and real quick, last question. If you're picking one of these phones, which one do you pick as your personal favorite?
It's tough for me. So right now I am a 3GS user. I've got the Palm Pre as well, and there are things that I miss from the Pre. Right, I really miss the
Yeah,
multitasking. I really miss.
multitasking. I mean, I don't have a pre personally. The times I've played with the pre, the multitasking to me just blows me away. Like, there's so many times where you just want to flip between one thing and the other and copy and paste, and you know,
Yeah.
it just takes forever on the iPhone 3GS, even though it is faster.
Well, not only that, but I mean, on the Pre, I can at least stay connected to all of my IM services. People can still reach me.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is like this. I'm still under a contract with AT&T, so I'm gonna kind of live that through. But the other thing is that neither device is actually perfect, right? So the Pre has a lot of rough edges, and so does the iPhone. And I think the right choice for me is whichever one gets it perfect first. Right now, I think Apple has the advantage, and it does have a very, very mature application store. If those apps don't matter to you, then the Pre really has a multiple edges up over the iPhone.
Awesome. Anand, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much. It's Anand from Anandtech. It's anandtech.com. They do lots of different things, PC hardware reviews, obviously these software speed breakdowns, things like this. So Anand, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Randall Bennett, and we'll see you next time on TechView. Of course, we're all around. Check us out on iTunes. Give us some feedback, too. Let us know what you think of the iPhone 3GS and our coverage of it. Do you think you don't care as much as we're covering it? Of course you do. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, we'll see you later.